My husband prioritized his best friend over me on our wedding day, so I prioritized myself over him forever. My husband treated his best friend Jacob like the sun, while I was just a planet in orbit around their bromance. The first time I really understood the hierarchy was at my introduction to Jacob at Olive Garden. Jacob ordered the tour of Italy with extra shrimp and 2 appetizers while the rest of us got basic pasta dishes. When the check came, he grabbed it with this big show of generosity, then announced we should split it evenly to make things simple. I watched my husband nod along as I realized that my chicken Alfredo just cost me $60. My husband even threw in an extra 20 for a tip because Jacob forgot his wallet again. The second wake-up call happened on our second-year anniversary. I had spent the whole day preparing Daniel's favorite meal and setting up the dining room with candles. I even wore the red dress he loved and had made reservations at the steakhouse where we had our first date for a short dinner. Then Jacob showed up at 7 with a 12-pack and buffalo wings because his girlfriend dumped him. Daniel immediately canceled our reservation and told me we could celebrate next weekend since Jacob needed him right now. Unfortunately, I looked past both those red flags for the sake of our relationship, but at least I was aware of how the dynamic worked. So when Daniel told me Jacob wanted to propose at our wedding reception, I said absolutely not. I explained that our wedding day was about us starting our life together and I didn't want to share that spotlight. Daniel agreed, or so I thought, and promised to tell Jacob to find another venue for his proposal. Over the next few months, Jacob kept pushing and Daniel kept asking me to reconsider. I held firm every single time. The last conversation happened a month before the wedding when I told Daniel this was non-negotiable and he swore he understood. The ceremony was perfect and I actually started to relax during the reception. We were watching our slideshow when Jacob grabbed the microphone out of nowhere. My stomach dropped as Daniel jumped up and ran outside. He came back carrying roses and a sign that said, "Will you marry me?" And I realized that I'd been both betrayed and lied to. As Jacob's girlfriend walked to the center of the dance floor, I just stood up and walked out. I locked myself in the bridal suite and sobbed into my wedding dress. When Daniel found me, he started screaming that I was selfish and childish and couldn't stand seeing other people happy. He said I ruined Jacob's moment because I always had to be the center of attention. That was the moment I realized I was marrying someone who would never put me first. I spent my wedding night alone while Daniel partied with Jacob. The next morning I went straight to my parents' house and started Googling divorce lawyers. Daniel called me a dozen times, but every voicemail was the same accusations about me being dramatic and needing to grow up. Every insult he threw my way only strengthened my resolve to go through with this. When the annulment papers were served, Daniel discovered I'd already frozen our joint accounts, and he was stuck with the entire $30,000 wedding bill. He showed up at my parents' house with Jacob, both drunk and screaming from the lawn. Daniel called me a frigid bitch who couldn't handle not being the center of attention for 5 minutes. Jacob yelled that I was a controlling psycho who was jealous of true brotherhood. They kept shouting about how I ruined the proposal and destroyed true love out of spite. My mom recorded the whole thing while my dad stood guard. Then Jacob's girlfriend pulled up looking for him. She watched him drunkenly defending Daniel's decision to lie to me about the proposal. Then she heard him call her some chick while explaining to my dad that bros come before, well, you know who. Her face went from confused to disgusted as she finally understood why he'd been so weird about the proposal details. She tapped on Jacob's shoulder, and as he turned to look at her in shock, she dumped him, calling him pathetic before driving off. Daniel was still oblivious and ranting when his phone started blowing up. It was the bank calling about the overdue wedding venue payment. That's when it hit him that he was actually stuck with the entire bill. His face went white as he realized I wasn't coming back to help pay for the wedding he'd ruined. He dropped to his knees begging me to reconsider. Jacob immediately started backing away when Daniel mentioned splitting the costs. He actually ran to his car and peeled out without even saying goodbye. Last I heard, Daniel's living in his mom's basement working overtime to pay off the wedding debt while she lectures him daily about losing me. Jacob blocked him after Daniel asked him to help with the bills. They don't even speak anymore.